What is up, guys? I'm trying to like hide the pile of clothes that are behind me, so we're just gonna try and ignore that. But I thought I'd just jump on today because I don't feel like I've done a proper sit down video about my binge eating disorder. You'll know that I have struggled with this for a while. If you follow me on Instagram, and I have spoken about it briefly on my other YouTube videos, but I thought today I would just do a proper sit down video just focusing on it. As of today, I'm filming this on the day that it's going out, so I am 94 days binge free, just over a quarter of a year, which I'm very happy about 13 weeks now. So yeah, I'm feeling super proud of myself, but I also know it's something that people can often be scared to talk about, or like, especially if you don't suffer with it yourself. I know a lot of people can be quite nervous about asking questions or saying anything, just because obviously you don't want to upset anyone. You don't want to risk offending anyone by asking something that you might feel okay asking, but is not necessarily the best way to word it. So I thought I'd just jump on today. So basically, I've got a few questions as well. Firstly, how did you know you had binge eating disorder? So last year I got to my lightest weight, which was 51.7, I think, around there. And I'm 5'3" for anyone that's interested in that. And that was a super light weight for me. Like, looking back at the photos of myself then, I looked like a twig. Like, I looked so unhealthy. Like, my face was so thin, like my collarbones were sticking out like mad. But I still had like cellulite on my legs and stuff, so you know, and my ribs and my hips weren't sticking out, so I don't know. But I then got to a point where it got to my birthday, and the coach I was working with had this sort of approach: don't track on your birthday, calories don't count on your birthday. And obviously having that kind of ideal works probably amazingly for other people, but for me, I've always had a bit of a weird relationship with food anyway, and then having this opportunity to just go bonkers, I ended up spending probably the good 2 months before my birthday. Every time I looked at anything, I was like, I'm gonna have that on my birthday, I'm gonna have that on my birthday, I'm gonna have that on my birthday. Literally, I woke up at like 7 a.m. on my birthday, and me and my boyfriend literally bought like 2 massive bags of just crap, like stuff that I'd never normally eat, like Pringles, brownies, cakes, like gingerbread men and stuff. I mean, like the bags were just chock-a-block with stuff. By like 12 o'clock, I could not move. I was just so full, and like, I mean, I was really frustrated as well because I'd had this pizza that was like from like Tesco. It's meant for like 4 people, had like cheesy stuffed crust on it, and I had spent months staring at that in my freezer being like, I'm gonna have that on my birthday. Got around to having it in the evening on my birthday, and I managed about 2 slices of it because I was just so full from everything I'd eaten that day, and I felt so angry with myself that I just ended up just going bonkers, and like I just ended up spending the next couple of months just eating, basically. It was just regular, like multiple times a week I was just binging, and it was really difficult because I didn't really know what was happening. I hated the way that I felt all the time, and obviously my coach at the time didn't really know what to do either, because it's not the most common thing that you tend to deal with as a general online weight loss coach. So I took a step back. We both sort of decided, okay, this is not going to work anymore. Like, we tried our best. We came up with different methods to try and tackle it, but at the end of the day, like, it just wasn't right anymore. So we both took a step back, and I started working with a nutrition coach. This is, oh my god, I'm just skipping stuff. So yeah, I was binging for a few months, and then I think in October time, I think, I went to the doctors and I was formally diagnosed with binge eating disorder. I think they had to like check my bloods and stuff as well at the same time, just to make sure, just have a look at them and see where I was at with things. I had to go to the doctors and get weighed, which wasn't particularly fun. And I low-key just sort of like cried a little bit behind the curtains whilst I was getting weighed. I didn't look at the scales when I was getting weighed at the doctors, because I was like behind the curtain because I had to get undressed for it. and I just went behind the curtain, stood on the scale, and then shoved it back out under the curtain whilst I got dressed. So I didn't look at it. I didn't want to know what I weighed, just because I felt really shit. But yeah, I got diagnosed with binge eating disorder in September, October time, and then I was looking for someone that could help me. Like, I'd seen stuff about therapy and counselling and stuff, but they were just so expensive. It was crazy. Like, I couldn't afford it. So I just kept looking around for things, and I remember a couple of years ago I was following someone called on Instagram called Apollo Nutrition, Sophia, and I just remember like I don't know, I just remember seeing her on my Instagram, and someone that she worked with that I was also following, and so I just looked at her website, went through her stuff. She looked really good. And she'd sort of discussed on her website that she'd struggled with like eating disorders and stuff in the past. So I thought she'd be really good, and I reached out to her. I think we started working together mid-November, and she has been absolutely amazing. Last week we decided we were going to stop working with each other, just because I've reached this point where I'm sort of okay. Like, I track 7 days a week now with no issues. I'm getting back into a routine of weighing. I am taking it slow getting back into these habits, because they were things that I did before, when I was in the pit of my eating disorder, and I really want to be more careful not to fall into that. So yeah, we're taking it nice and slow, because I have another coach that I do all my training with, and now the nutrition side of it has been passed on to him as well, and that is Xander from JLX Coaching, who I follow on Instagram as well. But yeah, I started with Sophia. We just took a step back, really. We were like, right, no watch, no weighing, no tracking, we're just going to take a step back. She gave me a meal plan to follow, which was really, really helpful for the first couple of weeks, especially because a lot of the time I binged purely because I didn't know what I wanted to eat. So then I'd just eat something for the sake of it, and then an hour later I'd be like, oh, I actually really fancy that, and then I'm not satisfied, and yeah. So yeah, 13 weeks binge free now. So yeah, one of the other questions was, how did you get help? So yeah, I reached out to Sophia, my nutrition coach, and she has just been amazing. I would definitely recommend her. She made such a massive difference to me, and I'm so glad that I started with her. And also, what helped the most? I think it definitely made a difference to actually talk to people about it and actually put it out there in the world. Like, obviously I'm not saying to post all about it on your Instagram. That just happened to work for me. It just felt like a weight lifted, and like the amount of support that I received from people was absolutely amazing. And it was really nice as well, because it showed me that I wasn't the only one that struggled with it. Like, I've had quite a few people messaging me being like, I think I suffer with binge eating disorder, or I do, and like they sort of resonated a lot with the stuff that I'd said, which was obviously it's not nice to hear that someone else has binge eating disorder, but at the same time, knowing I wasn't the only one really made a massive difference. And then also seeing other people on social media sort of getting into recovery. So I follow my coach Benji on Instagram, Ben Howden. He's part of the My Coach School team, and I follow him, and I've reached out to him multiple times actually, because he has been a massive inspiration to me, because he struggled with binge eating disorder, and just seeing him go through recovery and coming out the other side of it has been massively inspiring to me. And it was nice as well to have someone else to be like, there's a lot of factors that come into it, like obviously having a nutrition coach helped, and then also actually seeing someone come out the other side of it was really beneficial for me. I mean, obviously you might not be comfortable with following people on Instagram that struggle with binge eating disorder if you have it as well. Like, I know personally, I had to unfollow a couple of people that I followed that spoke about binge eating disorder, but I just wasn't comfortable with the content they were putting out. Nothing against them, like that's just personally how I found it. So instead of giving them hate or being like, stop posting about this, I took a step back and I unfollowed them. Like, I don't feel guilty about it, because that's what I needed to do. But yeah, definitely speak out to people, find someone that can help you, and even just have a slight awareness of the fact that something is not quite right, I think is really, really important. But also, like, just talk to someone about it, like, whether that be your mum, your friend, an actual professional. Just talking about it can be really, really beneficial, and make sure that your social media is a good place for you to be, because obviously we spend so much time on it. It's important to make sure that you don't just end up like just leaving everything, like oh, I'm so lost for words right now. But obviously we spend so much time on social media, you don't want it to be a negative place for you to go to, which is why I unfollowed people that I wasn't comfortable following. Nothing on them, they're lovely people, I'm sure, but I just couldn't deal with the content. It was stressful for me and it didn't put me in a good place. So yeah, anything that triggers me, like it triggers me at the moment with my BD, I don't think so. Like, it's really important to me because I'm tracking 7 days a week now. I constantly try to challenge myself to like not restrict. Like, if I want a bit of cheese or I want a bowl of Cocoa Pops, I'm gonna have a bowl of Cocoa Pops, you know. Like, I need to, like, that's a key challenge for me at the moment. And also, like, I mean, I'm currently eating like 2,350 calories a day, so I have a lot of calories, but there's still part of me that feels really restricted by it. So I'm just like, no, like, I don't have to eat everything today and then not eat tomorrow. Like, if I fancy some, or if I haven't got enough calories to have some toast with cheese on today, oh, don't worry though, because I can have it tomorrow. So yeah, in terms of like what actually triggers me, definitely coming out of my routine makes me a bit wobbly, but that is part of the journey of getting into recovery, is actually seeing those challenges and facing them, not just giving up or giving in. So, but obviously you need to make sure before you do that yourself, if you struggle with BED, that you need to make sure you're actually in a good place to challenge yourself. So yeah, obviously, like, I'm 13 weeks in recovery, or 13 weeks since I last binged, so I feel like I'm in a good place with that. But obviously, if I didn't feel myself in a good place to do it, then I wouldn't. Like, make sure you are in that right headspace for it. And then just one final question, if you've got a friend suffering with BED, how can you best support them? I think definitely don't make them feel guilty or about it, because obviously if you're not someone that struggles with it, it can be really hard to sort of understand the concept that you feel so out of control with food. So definitely don't force them to be out of their comfort zone if they're not ready. Don't hold any judgment for them, because a lot of the, like, it's something that you can't control. It's not something that I don't put it in my calendar to be like, right, it's a Wednesday, I can't go out with my friends tonight, I've got to binge at 7. It's not that, it's like you just feel out of control, like, completely. So in terms of supporting your friend, make sure that you support them, don't provide any judgment, don't like, obviously it's difficult at the moment because we're not going out anywhere because it's lockdown, but don't force your friend to go out for a meal or to go eat or become out of their routine if they're not comfortable with it. And just make sure that you are a space for them to talk to, like, even if it's just through Messenger. Like, just make sure that they know that you're there to help support them and talk to them. Like, the worst thing that can happen is that they feel alone and they don't feel like they have anywhere or anyone to turn to help them. So yeah, that would be my main advice. Just make sure you're a key support for them and don't hold any judgment, and don't force them to do anything that they're not comfortable with yet, because that can just end up making everything a lot worse. Because even for me, like, I'm 13 weeks in recovery, but I would still be very, very anxious about going out for a meal, especially, like, it's like one thing if you can find the nutrition stuff for the meal online, but if you can't, that is one thing that I personally find stressful, and I know a lot of other people do. Like, even if you don't struggle with an eating disorder, it can be quite stressful if you're trying to track food, and you can't find out the nutrition for it. So yeah, that's pretty much my main advice. Okay, I've literally just received another question quickly that I wanted to add in. And it was, so like I've been saying, I've been working with a nutrition coach. But obviously now that I'm at a point where we no longer need to work together, I think it's really important to discuss the journey that I went on in terms of like mentally preparing myself to come away from my nutrition coach. Because I won't lie, I found it really difficult. I spent maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, just feeling really detached from everything, to be honest. I felt detached from my training, from my goals, from my nutrition coach herself. And I found it really difficult to sort of try and deal with that, because I didn't know why. I couldn't understand why I was feeling like that, because I knew in the back of my head that I was fine to go by myself, but then obviously at the same time I was scared and nervous of like getting back into old habits and going back into sort of binging frequently. So yeah, but I mean, I think that's important to discuss, because it's not been a smooth journey. It's not been perfect and lovely like you would want it to be. Like, I have found it really difficult taking that step back and going it by myself. But even though I'm not by myself, I'm still with my other training coach, Xander. So yeah, but like, don't be afraid of that sort of journey where you have to step away, because you can't work with your nutrition or your nutrition coach or your therapist for the rest of your life. You have to take that step back at some point. And yeah, like, honestly, it was difficult and I really struggled with it. I was very, very detached from a lot of stuff. I didn't really talk to anyone. I didn't really post much on socials. I just felt really, yeah, detached. Like, I don't know how else to put it, but yeah, just know that like things will get easier and they'll get better, and you will eventually get to a point where you can go it alone. But that's pretty much everything, I think. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment them down below. And of course, the classic like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Definitely share it with people if you think they might benefit from this information, whether you are someone suffering with ED and you want to send it to a family member or a friend, or if you're a family member or a friend of someone that does struggle with BED. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up there, and I shall see you next week.